Do you think not doing that shows a lack of faith that Mike might have in Dak's ability to make that decision?
Not at all. Not at all. No, that doesn't reach that point with me at all.
Okay, so it's not an impassioned response, but it is an interesting one nonetheless. And we will start with our beloved former Cowboy. We talked about this a lot yesterday. The Cowboys get a win, and that seems to be their formula. Jerry Jones seemed to be questioning it yesterday. What did you think of it, Swagoo?
Yeah, I didn't like it. I thought he could have been aggressive at least one more time towards the end zone. Mike McCarthy defense, he can come to the podium and say, hey, guys, we won by 3. So that was a very important field goal that we took before halftime. But the bottom line is the sentiment outside of that organization and that locker room is probably, why don't you trust Dak along with having CeeDee Lamb with the possible opportunity to get a touchdown? Because we know at some point during the season, you'll need that. And that's the thing. Like, this is a continuum for Mike McCarthy. Any mistake, anything that we see as a mistake, we gonna overblow and think about like what you should do in that particular situation. A lot of things transpire in games. I'm in agreement with most of the majority when you say you should have took another shot at the end zone. But also we got to remember the number of penalties that were had before that play in the first half. All of those things are taken into context when you're making that decision. But at the end of the day, it does make it look like you don't trust your quarterback in that situation, especially when you're playing an offense with that type of firepower and the potential to score a touchdown.
What? Why are you pounding the table?
I mean, Swagoo is preaching up here. Listen, this was a game that Mike McCarthy realized this is an ugly game. Penalties galore. Let's not back up. Let's not make this thing worse. Let's just go into halftime with a lead. Look, at the 40-second mark, of course, we would all like to see a timeout. He didn't call it. But his job is to win. His job ain't to impress us on this desk. If he felt like, hey, let's just eat this 8 seconds, we're going to kick the field goal, we're going to move on. He knows the feel of the game. It was 10-7. It was an ugly game. I mean, that is a tough thing to watch as a coach. He made the right decision, and that's what Swagoo's saying. You got to know the feel. And, yeah, could they need something different in a different game? Absolutely. And in that moment, he'll make a different decision.
Kmart made a very interesting analogy in her notes last night and the conversation this morning about the Cowboys' offense.
Okay, picture it. You're in New York City, guys. You and your lady decide, we're going to go to a 3-star Michelin restaurant. Baby, put on your good clothes. We're going out.
Right.
So you're all excited. You walk in the restaurant. Ooh, ambiance is nice. The mood is right. Everything's good. You sit down. I'm starving because you haven't eaten all day. Because you're going to a 3-star Michelin restaurant, you are hungry. Then you see the waiter from a distance bringing out the plates. And you're like, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. They put that big old plate right in front of you. And you see a tiny little portion of food, decorated lovely, but you got like a puree, like drizzle of balsamic, and then you got a like deep fried octopus, like a little thing, and then you got some frisee, and you're like, this tastes good. And then you realize all the courses are that big. And so by the time you leave the restaurant, you're tapping your man on the shoulder like, babe, we got to go to McDonald's because I am still hungry. I am not satisfied. I enjoyed the food, but it wasn't enough. And here's the problem with the Cowboys. I see it. I see moments of like, that's it. CeeDee Lamb, they remember he exists. Dak, he's using his legs. Thank you, Jesus. He's running into the end zone. This is so beautiful. And then it disappears, just like that plate of food. So I think we see flashes of what the Cowboys can be and what they've been, but there aren't enough. Like, I understand what Marcus and Jeff were saying about, hey, for this game, it was ugly and it's a grinder game, but it's the Chargers. Like, I don't know. It's just not enough.
Is it too much frisee and not enough octopus?
I mean, I think one thing I know for sure is if a billionaire who's 80 years old from Arkansas says you're too conservative at anything, then I know that you are absolutely too conservative. And yeah, I get what Jeff and what Marcus are saying. They're right. There are times when you have to play a game differently in different situations. But I do still feel like there's been an overreaction to what happened last year with Dak Prescott. Them having an explosive offense was never holding them back. They ran into the 49ers in the playoffs a couple of times and lost in those games. I don't think that they need to become extra conservative. It's worked so far this season, but they haven't played a lot of very good teams. I'm not sure it's going to be enough. And so if he changes when they play these games and he gets more aggressive against these teams, that's fine. But coaches have always told me, you play how you practice. And right now, they are practicing in a way that suggests to me that they're going to get to the playoffs and do this same foolishness. And then every mistake, and I know this was an ugly penalty game. You know what happens when you play to have a tight game? Those mistakes get magnified. Yeah. When you play more aggressively, we don't care about the penalties. We don't think about the penalties because you have a 14-point lead. So we'll see if Mike McCarthy shows the ability to be flexible in different situations.
Swagoo, give me a quick final word, and we got a million things to get to today. Swagoo, finish it up.
Yeah, I think Foxy makes a great point about being flexible. I think this is still remnants from the San Francisco 49ers game. Everybody probably wanted to see Dallas come out against one of the worst secondaries and put up 40 points like we saw them do in those first 3 games, and we wouldn't be having these conversations. But ultimately, like what Jeff said, they won the game. It was an ugly game. The penalties are an issue. The pre-snap. The post-snap, I don't care. The post-snap is holding and all of that type of stuff. You got to get that corrected in practice. But here's the thing. Like we all know, and the point Foxy made, at some point you're going to have to put up 30 to 40 points. You're going to have a high-powered, prolific offense at some point during the season. And I think that's what everybody is waiting to figure out. This particular one, when you 12 penalties in, it probably changes your mindset about how you going about doing things.
I tell you right now, Marcus can relate to I took Marcus to lunch one day, and we ordered him a salad, and he literally took one look at it and then ordered a cheeseburger.
Thank you. There's nothing more disappointing than not.
He might ask the Waffle House.
He knows the day I'm talking about.
Preach, baby.
They're going to have to get this thing done. You know who else is surmising that they're not getting enough attention, the Eagles, for their struggles? Micah Parsons, who has a podcast, because of course he does.
In case you didn't know.
Was on it last night saying, why doesn't everyone talk about the Eagles when they lose?
I just don't condone the bashing of Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys and have the same energy for the Eagles. The Eagles were healthy. So we want the same energy for everybody because there's a whole bunch of bashing when it's Dak Prescott, but not the same when it's the Eagles.
Okay. Does he have a point? You want to bash it? No point? No point.
I just want to know, where was Micah Parsons in February? He was at home. He was watching the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Have the same energy. Yes, I applaud him for coming to the defense of his quarterback, as a good teammate should. But don't get it confused. The star comes with different expectations, and when's the last time they were in the Super Bowl?
Can I just say, Micah Parsons is doing a magnificent job of promoting his podcast. As someone who has a podcast, I understand how difficult it is to promote it, but he get up every week because he says some foolishness that he may or may not believe in. So Micah, podcast host, magnificent. Micah, outside linebacker, pass rusher, maybe you should chill because your point is right. The reason why the Eagles aren't getting that much heat is because the Eagles have shown us, and I know this doesn't count, but they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. They go to the Super Bowl last year.
Right.
It feels like this is a team that we've seen do it. That's why there's extra criticism for Dak. That's why there's extra criticism for the Cowboys, because they have great regular seasons and then don't quite get as far as they need.
And the loss to San Francisco was ugly. And the loss to Arizona was ugly,
That's
right?
fair.
Yeah.
But if Dak Prescott had played the exact game Jalen Hurts played on Sunday, we would do a 30 for 30.
No doubt.
We would literally, now, they would be commissioning a director to go put together a 30 for 30 for that Sunday in New York when Dak Prescott turned the ball over four times against the Jets.
There's a reason for that, though.
Yeah, guys like my man Fox would just put them on back. I would defend them like I have been, you know what I mean, for that Prescott family that we'd have got kicked out of. But
we can trade.
I mean, listen, it's a different expectation. Dak has been in the league longer. The expectations have been high. It was always about his contract. Then he finally gets one. You know, where Jalen Hurts is in his career and the productivity they've had on the Eagles since he's been their quarterback, it does change the conversation. That's just reality.
Look, there was no bigger fan of Jalen Hurts than I am, but the reality is he made mistakes in that game that you deserve to be criticized for.
sure.
It doesn't matter how well you play. I don't care if you're Patrick Mahomes, whoever it is.
No doubt.
That have all of the hardware and whatever it is to back up what they have done. There was some. That was a game he just gave away by himself.
He played a Super Bowl caliber Jets defense, right?
All right, but hold up.
Yeah.
Goddard has a tip that becomes a pick, right? His arm gets in the other one because he's holding the ball, which I do put on him. And he had 2 drops by Smith in the same game, so it's not like everybody else was playing up to par.
Perhaps
and he was just struggling.
But in fairness, Dan was in here on Monday, and we can joke around about Dan's bandwagon fandom, but he pointed out play after play where he's got the dump off, the checkdowns are available all the time. He's trying to make big plays. Look, again, I'm not bashing him. I'm saying what Micah is saying is right.
And that final play was ugly. That final interception was
take a knee.
I would have run it
If the Eagles had punted on 3rd down, they would be unbeaten now.
Yeah.
Marcus, jump in here.
Well, the elephant in the room is this, guys. Like, it's always going to be more about the Dallas Cowboys. It don't matter if they went to the Super Bowl last year. If Dallas went to the Super Bowl last year and Dak threw 3 picks and Jalen threw 3 picks, we'll kill Dak more. That's just the way it goes. Like, it's not. I don't think it's about the Philadelphia Eagles. We know Jalen played bad, but when you wear the star on your helmet, and this is where you flex a little bit, people are going to talk about it in a different way. Like, they're going to talk. And if they win a Super Bowl, guess what? It will be a celebration in a different way than everybody else in the NFL. I saw Stephen Jones at the Monday night game when we were there, and he talked about it. He said, people love us or people hate us, but they watch us. And that's just what it is, man. Like, and when I played here, it's more attention given to the Dallas Cowboys in failure and success. So you got to take the good with the bad. And ultimately, he's right. Jalen Hurts threw 3 interceptions. It don't matter. If Dak would have got his arm hit or if a ball would have bounced up and then he threw that interception at the end of the game, we would have been looking for a new quarterback, a new head coach. We would have been talking about Jerry Jones need to turn over the general manager tag. All of that stuff would have came out. No matter if they won a Super Bowl last year, we would have said the same thing because it's the Dallas Cowboys.
That's right. Look, and being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys works out pretty well. Look at Troy Aikman. Look at Tony Romo.
Yes,
Roger Staubach is a billionaire.
Yes,
Those things tend to work out pretty well for themselves. So we will see.